Welcome to the FIT library. Today I am going to be going over materials for FM245 and talking to you about some of the resources that you will use for this class. So let's start by doing a brief discussion about why we do research. There are many different reasons why research is important, both for your class projects and when you're out working in the fashion industry. You can do research to learn from the perspectives of authorities in the fashion industry, to validate assumptions about trends and approaches, to integrate different perspectives into your work, to recognize the work of experts and influencers who are not directly involved in the project, to identify emerging ideas and trends as they develop, and to synthesize ideas from multiple sources into a cohesive project. All of these can be better done with research information. So how can you find the appropriate sources for this research, particularly for this class? There are many different sources provided by the FIT library that can be useful for this class, but we're going to talk about a few examples today. First, you can look to fashion forecasting resources. The FIT library provides access to 4 online fashion forecasting resources, in addition to the print resources that are available downstairs on the 4th floor of the library. The 4 digital trend forecasting platforms that we have access to are Future Snoops, WGSN Fashion, Doniger Tobe, and Peclairs Plus. At this point in the video, you're welcome to pause and go and watch a video about Future Snoops or WGSN, or you can continue watching this video and turn to those videos after it's done. So let's talk about what you'll find when you do use our platforms. This is an example of some images taken from WGSN Fashion's Spring-Summer 2026 report. And let's do a brief activity, analyzing and using this image. Take 1 minute to look carefully at this image and answer the following questions. What are 5 details you notice? How would you describe the mood presented? What decade does this remind you of? What questions do you have about the image? Feel free to pause now if you would like to look at this image further. Once you've spent a minute looking at this image, scan this QR code or use the URL below to go to our Padlet and answer those 5 questions. Another resource that we have access to that can be very useful is Windowsware. Windowsware is a platform that shares imagery and information about a variety of different things related to merchandising and, to some degree, advertising. So this is going to have examples of windows, as the name suggests, but also pop-ups, retail interiors, packaging, email marketing, Facebook ads, Instagram stories, examples of AR, VR experiences from different brands, and a lot of different types of information that might be useful about current retailing choices around the world. It also has a really great historical displays collection found in the archive, which you can see in the lower right there. This can be really useful when you're looking for examples of how people are merchandising and arranging materials. We also have a large collection of historical magazines. So we have the archives digitally of Vogue, Vogue Italia, Ebony Magazine, Harper's Bazaar, Jet Magazine, and WWD, to name just a few. These are really useful sources to find out more about how people were using information in the past. How were magazines talking about trends? How were consumers finding out about different fashion items? All of this can be found throughout the years in these great online resources. And again, you can pause here or wait until after the end of this video to go and watch our video about using the Vogue Archive platform and other magazines that are available through the ProQuest database. It's also really important to keep current with fashion news, and the FIT library offers a number of resources that can help with that. We offer access to current issues of WWD and the opportunity to sign up for free with your FIT email account to access WWD's Digital Daily. This is going to give you daily news straight to your inbox that will tell you everything that's happening in the fashion industry. So WWD is a really important resource for understanding what's happening now in the fashion world. Equally as important is the business of fashion. The business of fashion is another resource that will tell you currently what's going on, with a real focus on the business side of the fashion world. In addition to news stories and profiles, it also has descriptions of individual businesses and key figures. And both of these have job opportunities listed occasionally. So it's important to look to that as well. So an important piece of working with these information sources that we've just gone over is citing your sources appropriately. How can you make sure that you are adequately explaining what you have relied on in writing your project? This is obviously important in an academic setting, but it's also important when you are in the work world because people want to know that you're not just stating your opinion, that you're actually backing up your argument with key evidence from recognized credible sources. And particularly important for the work being done in this class, it's important that you use up-to-date sources. So we're going to be using a modified version of APA citations for this class. Please note that while APA citation date calls for the year only, in this class, we need to know the specific date or the season if it's from a forecast service seasonal report. This is to substantiate the relevancy of the trend and make sure that you're showing that you're using the most up-to-date information possible. Therefore, you should cite as indicated in this presentation, even if it's not exactly what you're used to from the APA style. This form of citation is designed specifically for this forecasting course. So let's take a look at what it looks like. So for in-text citations, you want to make sure that you're offering a way to identify the images within a presentation. So you need to include specific information. You want to numerically correlate the citation to the image. So if you're using multiple images in a presentation, you might need to number them so that you can see which citation goes with which image. And you also want to include the name of the forecasting service and the season of the report. If it's not a seasonal report, you need to instead state the publication date. So in this example, we can see it says Fashion Snoops, comma, Spring Summer 2026. Here's another example of citing an image from a forecasting service, this time from Future Snoops, back when it was known as Fashion Snoops. And you'll see that it says Fashion Snoops, comma, Spring Summer 26. You can also cite a store window if you take a picture of one for this class or find a picture. And for this, you're going to want to emphasize what the brand is. In this image, we can actually see that it's Chanel, but this is particularly important so that people know what the brand is in images where that's not as evident. So you would cite this image as Chanel, comma, March 27th, 2024. For article citations, you similarly want to make sure that you're emphasizing the date. So we can see this article here, and we're going to say that it's from WWD, but we're going to specify on May 2nd, 2023. So once you've written your in-text citations, you also need to create a references page. This sample can direct you to this, and you'll see that we're including more information than we do on the slides themselves. So if you take a look here, you can see that it says Chanel, it's got the date, which is what we put on the slide, but then it's also going to tell you where the location of the store was and that this was a window display. Similarly, we're going to have the report name for this Fashion Snoops report. And if we look down to the article from WWD, we're going to see that we have the author's name, the title of the article, and don't forget you need to have the URL if that is something that you found online. So what if you have generated an image via ChatGPT, or if you're using one that someone else has generated by ChatGPT? APA citations for this are still very important. You still need to cite that you are using an AI tool. So for the references page, you would state the AI tool, the date, then a description of the image, then the tool being used, so in this case, DALL-E, and the URL. In-text citations would focus just on that company name and the year. For chatbots and conversational AI, it's still important to use APA citations. And you can see here that they're going to be relatively similar to what we saw before, except that they're going to specify that it's a large language model. If you have questions about anything that we've covered in this video, you can always stop by the FIT library to get help. Anytime the 5th floor is open, we have someone who's happy to help you at our library services desk. You can also set up a one-on-one research consultation for more in-depth help with your projects, particularly if you'd like help with many different citation questions. In addition, you can always chat with us from anywhere in the world via our Ask the Library service, which is available at fitnyc.edu/library/ask. And don't forget, in addition to this video, you will want to watch the other videos about the specific databases that were discussed here. Thanks very much.